And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese. China. Russian. Russia. Italian. Italy. German. Germany. Swedish. Sweden. Korean. Korea. Egyptian. Egypt. Nigerian. Nigeria. Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got the drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. You lying, won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the
Black people can't be anti-Semitic. We are Jew. You understand what I'm saying? We are Jew. So cool out until you do your facts. Until you really do the facts with the fake indoctrination that y'all pull into the schools and all that. You know what I'm saying? We're not following y'all rules.
The entire Bible is about black people. Not only was Jesus black, but every character in the Bible seems to be black too. Yeah, Zephaniah and Jeremiah and Jebediah, those all aren't white people names, okay? And Jesus wasn't some tan, partially melanated Middle Eastern person either. I'm talking straight up black dude, okay? Even in the book of Revelation, when you get the vision of Daniel, he's describing someone with feet like burnt brass and white woolly hair, and we've got the deep running water voice with the red eyes, and you guys, he's black. The Jewish people are black people, like Kanye was right.
Anyone ever heard of the word anti-Semitic? What's that mean? What's that mean? Against who? Against the who? Say it one more time. Against the who? If you're anti-Semitic, you're against Jews. Where'd that come from? You know, anti-Semitic, the word only goes back to the late 1800s. As it relates to being anti-Jewish. Now, okay, now, don't throw your rocks at me. But how is it that only white Jews get to be referred to as Semitic? But how is it that only white Jews get to be referred to as Semitic?
But how is it that only white Jews get to be referred to as Semitic?
That's what the Zionists did, except instead of a baseball team, they went to try to convince the Jews that the Jewish people are a nation, like France and like Spain. We'll get a land, that's Israel, that's our stadium. We'll get baseball bats and balls, we'll create a language. They sat down to create a language because nations need languages. They sat down to create a language because nations need languages. They sat down to create a language. They sat down to create a language.
They sat down to create a language.
You know what you are? You are an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time,
but
all that he said,
no, we don't have.
So many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes, and I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions It's like the dice of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
This world and the next world are asymmetrical. The next world is where the majority of a person's actions, which determine his identity, are compensated. For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black, are excluded from the world to come.
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again.
And we're going to make Israel great again.
We're going to.
I have said to people when they ask me if this capital crumbled to the ground, the one thing that would remain is our commitment to our aid, and I don't even call it aid, our cooperation with Israel.
They don't pay rent, the city doesn't have, it's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately. It'll end immediately. We are the party of common sense. I knew that once they had open borders, all of the countries, I didn't think about all over the world. I thought in South America, it's all over the world. Last week, a lot of people came in from the Congo, a big prison in the Congo in Africa. Welcome to the United States. They came in from the Congo. They came in from the Congo. They came in from the Congo.
Saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring, and what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else. And there are things where you have to go by brain power, you have to go by psychological quality, and psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden. And Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know, but we do know that you had two planes at the same level. You had a helicopter and a plane. That shouldn't have happened. And we'll see. We're going to look into that, and we're going to see. But certainly for an air traffic controller, we want the brightest, the smartest, the sharpest. We want somebody that's psychologically superior. And that's what we're going to have, yeah.
That's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now thinking about that.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
I want to say peace and blessings to everyone that's tuning in tonight. I know I was supposed to do this live last night, but needed some additional rest. And initially, I was going to just push this off to next week. So I decided to just reschedule it for tonight. But got a lot that we're going to cover tonight. And again, I hope and pray that you guys had a great weekend. I didn't realize that tomorrow is a government holiday, but I know that, depending on where you work, you may still have to work tomorrow. So definitely understand. So I really want to go ahead and get into this. Got a lot to cover. Some of you guys probably caught some of this from our Shabbat, and we're going to take it a step further. I'm going to go a little deeper than what I did at our Shabbat service. Before we go on,
We are ramping up for our Passover, our Pasach. I will make sure that I will create a 60-second commercial, so to speak, advertisement for it, so that way you guys know exactly what you need to do. For those that want to come and celebrate Pasach with us, we'll have the dates included. So, but again, you're more than welcome to come on out. We're going to have a great time. We have some land designated that we're going to celebrate the Passover, Pasach on. It's going to be a 3-day event. Going to have a great time. So with that being said, we got a lot to cover tonight. And you guys see the title of this lesson is titled, The Woman Who Named Nigeria. Let me say that again. The Woman Who Named Nigeria. And being that we are in Black History Month, I really want to take the time out to just, teach some things that many may not be aware of. Like that territory, Nigeria, that's designated on the map. Well, that was not the original name for that entire territory. The woman that you see on the screen standing next to King Leopold, she is the one that came up with the name. But we got a lot more that we're going to touch on as well. But I really wanted to, really talk about this right here. Start off with really showing you with proof who actually named that territory and give you more understanding of the continent of Africa and how it was annexed, right? It was annexed by 3 companies, and we're going to get into that. We're going to touch on that tonight. So let's go to get into it. Matter of fact, let me just get a couple of shout outs here. Let me just do some shout outs tonight. I really appreciate you guys for, the love and support over the years. Really appreciate you guys for really being there for We Woke Now and for the ministry that we have, Passion for Reconciliation. We started that ministry almost 16 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long. And we started out in Christianity. We were non-denominational. I came up Baptist, and when I moved to the Richmond area, I was in Kojic for over 10 years, transitioned from Kojic to Apostolic, and then just completely left both of those and started our own ministry. Initially, we classified ourselves as being non-denominational because we didn't want to be part of any denominations, only to realize that non-denominational was still a denomination. So we've been around for quite some time, and we transitioned out of that whole religion, that whole way of doing things, that way of understanding scripture for over 10 years now. And, it's been a lot that we had to deal with, a lot of attacks, a lot of we could consider slander from people that we least expected, people that we help build ministries, people that we help keep their ministries afloat. We had to deal with a lot. So, but nevertheless, where we are right now, a lot of what I'm going to teach, a few things I'm going to touch on is some of the things that I was trying to make our brothers and sisters aware before I transition our ministry out of that whole group, that whole religion. I was literally going to pastors, talk. Really the love and support. Let me go ahead and close some of this stuff down. Looks like, let me close some of these windows open here. All right, for now, just to make sure that we don't have any issues with the bandwidth here. Let me close some of these windows down, and then I'll give a few shout outs, and then we'll get into our lesson. All right, let's make sure I don't close down the wrong one here. All right, let's see here. All right. All right, let me close some of these windows now, because you guys know, being a geek, because I am a geek, many of us that our geeks, we will have 100 windows open, eating up our processors. So let me just close some of these things down, just so that way I won't have to deal with any potential hiccups with the connection. All right. All right. So let me go and give some quick shout outs, and then we get right into the lesson. I'm going to start off by giving a shout out to In Focus 2C. Shout outs to you. And also to Aaron Gibb. Shout outs to Sister Jerry Carroll. Who else do we have here? Maureen Lynn Woodson. Thank you for the love and support. Want to give you a special shout out as well. Shalom to you. Let's see here. Israelite Gamer. Want to say shalom to you. Elder in the house, elder in the building, family. Show the elder some love. Want to say shalom to you. Let's see here. Y'all ain't tired yet? Absolutely ain't tired yet. Want to say shalom to you. Shemaiah. Want to say peace and blessings to you as well. Who else do we have here? Let me go down here. See if I see any additional names. David Taylor. Doc Kuzi. Want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. Let's see here. All right. Want to give shout outs to Boom out in let's see here. Barbara Blackwell. Want to give a special shout out to you as well. Shalom. Let's see here. Anyone else? Faya. Want to say shalom to you. Get a couple more in here as well. Takikra, excuse me if I mispronounce your name. Said the stream is struggling. It looks fine on my end, but I just I had to close out some things. If you have some problems with your stream, maybe reset your browser. But on my end, I want to make sure that I closed out some windows here. But then again, I won't be surprised because YouTube has been doing a lot of things. Really got me shadow banned. They're not sending out notifications. They literally been, just doing a lot. I'm not even going to get into all of that. All right. Let's see here. Want to give Promise Bantu, Shalom Pastor. I went to Nigeria, Africa in 2021, and I was telling them that a white woman had coined their name because they were whooping and hooping and hollering and being about and being about being Nigerian. Preach. Hallelujah. I know this could be hard for many to grasp, and a lot of the stuff that I teach, I know it's not popular, and we're living in a day and time that the truth is not popular. That's why you have the term unpopular truth, because I share truths that go against the masses. And when you share the truth that goes against what the majority think and believe, you could get a lot of opposition, so to speak. You guys witnessed it on a number of occasions. Some of the teachings that I've shared and given nothing but biblical sources as my primary sources, and showing the origins of the doctrine that many of us have been embracing, and our brothers and sisters still want to hold on to what they want to hold on to. So I'll leave it at that. So unfortunately, the only thing we can do, like that old saying, you can lead a horse to the water, but you cannot make the horse drink. That's all we could do, is give the information and keep it moving. So appreciate it. Appreciate you. All right. LaRonda Thomas, want to say peace and blessings to you. Let's see here. Michael McEwen, peace and blessings to you. Let's see, is Sydney Massey, peace and blessings to you. Flack, peace and blessings to you. Eddie Trula, peace and blessings to you. My brother in the building, Berean Scholar family, go to his channel. He's been putting in a lot of work. Let's make sure we tune into his channel, subscribe to it. And Berean Scholar, put your information inside the comment section. Really appreciate all that you do. That's my brother right there. Hallelujah. And for those also who's in the Richmond area, who's in the DMV area, we're going to have a special guest this Shabbat, Dr. Emmanuel. He will be teaching Black history and the Bible. He's a pioneer. He's been doing this for quite some time. I came across his material years ago and posted it here about 4 years ago. One of the lectures that he had done, a series he's done, really trying to educate our people. And he's been laboring for a long time. And we're going to have him here at our assembly this Shabbat. So if you're in the area, come on out and let's bless him, be a blessing to him. So with that being said, appreciate you. A few more shout outs we'll give here as we continue here. Let's see. That's right. Fair use. Want to make sure I echo that fair use. Want to say peace and blessings to you. Empathy Cafe. Peace and blessings to you. Heaven's Prayer. Peace and blessings to you. Michael Thompson. Peace and blessings to you. Let's see who else here. Kanak Israel. Peace and blessings to you. Pine Hill Productions. Shalom, everyone. And shalom to you as well. Let's see here. Yara Shalom. Right. Peace and blessings to you. Shalom, Quahal, hallelujah. Really appreciate you. All right. So family, let's go ahead and get into it. We got a lot to cover here. And I know I'm going to spaz out a little bit. What I mean by that, go a little geek mode for you guys, because I just love information. And once I get rolling, man, I just get rolling. But I just love information. And I'm going to zoom in on this picture here, just so that way we can help set the tone. If you guys have not noticed something on your screen, I'm not sure if it's large enough for you, but I'm going to zoom in just so you guys can see if you can catch it here. A key word, right? I mean, key name here, a key name of a company here. So make a note of this, and we're going to touch on this as we progress here, right? So you see a key name here, Royal, and you see that word here, right? And matter of fact, just as you guys understand, if you hear me, defaulting to this clip here, let me play it real quick. I'll be defaulting to this clip here.
Strong's G 3526, Niger.
All right, so I will be defaulting to that. I will be defaulting to that many cases when I go to pronounce that name. And for those that don't know, what you just heard is the original pronunciation of what we call Niger today. That's not the original name. All right. But I want you to make sure I want to show you on the screen. I want to zoom this in so you can see that at one time, that word was not a derogative word, because you see here Royal, and look at what you see here. Let me say that again. You see Royal.
Strong's G 3526, Niger.
All right. And you see a little, see a word here off to the side here in this territory. You see that? Yakuba. Right? If that looks like a U, yes, Yakuba. That's what it is. Yakuba. What does that sound like? Yakuba. All right. Well, we're going to deal with this. All right. But I want to make sure you get this right here. Really take a snapshot of this here. All right. So let's zoom out. Okay. So the woman who named Nigeria, let's go geek mode. How important are names? Let me say that again. How important are names? And I want to say names are very important. And I know because of the way that we've been processed information, how we've been fed information, how we've been hacked with information, it's hard to let go of certain things. It's hard to let go of learned behaviors, because there's a number of things that we were taught that it's just hard to let go, like God, using the name God or the title God. I've actually had pastors tell me, when I gave them all the proof about that word God, right? That is not the Most High's name. Showing them that is Germanic, for the Proto-Germanic
tree of languages, ultimately you get into the English language, but nevertheless showing that name God. And I've had pastors tell me that they're comfortable with saying God versus even saying the short form Yah. So we've been processed, family. We've been hacked big time. We've been hacked big time. But nevertheless, how important are names? What makes an Israelite an Israelite? We're going to do a special lesson. I'm going to do that on Shabbat, really go into the details of this, because many will go in the church will default to Apostle Paul as if Apostle Paul had the authority to change the laws, statutes, and commandments. And they take his writings out of context as if Paul was teaching that, hey, we all, whether you blood descended or not, we all are Abraham's seed. And I'm going to give clarity on that. But what makes an Israelite an Israelite? We have the Jewish community saying that what makes an Israelite, and well, actually not even an Israelite, a Jew is someone being born to a Jewish mother and embracing Judaism. And what do many from this community, our community, do? And I understand, and this is no knock, but many will say, we are the original Jew. No, we're not the original Jew. That word was created. It started its conception in the in English, GYU, in the 12th century. But then by the time we get to the 7th century, we see JEW. And that JEW word was created specifically for a designated group of people, along with their word Semitic, for political purposes. And you see right now. So we're not the original Jews. We are the original Israelites. Yashara'al, we are the original Israelites. You cannot conform, or should I say not conform, convert to being an Israelite. You have to be born into being a bloodline Israelite. But you can convert by way of religion to Judaism or becoming a Jew, just like Christianity and Islam. So what makes an Israelite an Israelite? We're going to answer this question. So there is an agenda. Let me say this again. There is an agenda to take and rename land, families, and tongues of every nation they've conquered. I hope you guys understand this. Let me say this again. There is an agenda. There is an agenda, and many of us are contributing to this, whether it's directly or indirectly. There is an agenda to take and rename land, families, and tongues of every nation that they have conquered. And I'm going to define the they. So I'm going to say this with clarity. Anyone who says that that's grabbing hold of this thought that Israel is not a land, it's a people, stop it. You are actually forfeiting your heritage. If you understand what heritage is and what constitutes a nation to being a nation, you will thoroughly study Genesis chapter 10. Noah's sons had land, family, and tongues that was divided among them. That is the pillars, 3 pillars of what constitutes a nation to being a nation. So you have Israel, the people. Then you had Israel, who had their own dialect of Hebrew. And you also had Israel, which was the territories, which was called the land of Israel. And these are the things that the Most High said he's going to restore. So don't let anyone wear you out, like Daniel chapter 7 talks about, how Hasatan is going to wear out the people of the Most High. In other words, make us good for nothing, have us forfeiting things that we should not be forfeiting. So Israel, we are a people. We also have a language which the Most High said he's going to restore. And we also have a land that was taken from us that he's going to restore as well. All right. So again, there is an agenda to take and rename land, rename families and tongues of every nation that they have conquered. And I'm going to prove it to you that we can't sit here and say that it's not important by downplaying it like that, because it's important to the other nations. That's why they're fighting for the very things that are ours, That's why they hijacked a language that didn't belong to them. You heard the clip that I played in order for them to create a nation. Let me play this clip again of this particular rabbi who is making it clear how they created a people, how they created a nation. Listen to here we go again.
That's what the Zionists did, except instead of a baseball team, they went to try to convince the Jews that the Jewish people are a nation, like France and like Spain. We'll get a land, that's Israel, that's our stadium. We'll get baseball bats and balls, we'll create a language. They sat down to create a language because nations need languages. They sat down to create a language because nations need languages. They sat down to create a language. They sat down to create a language.
They sat down to create a language.
See, family, they understand it. But we've been hacked through the religion, starting with Christianity, of forfeiting the things that is rightfully ours. Rightfully ours. So let's give a three-piece for anyone that is teaching or promoting that or downplaying our heritage. Let's give a three-piece. And let's give a side order to them. And let's give them their order to go. So family, again, there is an agenda to take and rename land, families, and tongues of every nation that they have conquered. Let's start with the 49th book of Psalms, verse 11. Let's give some context here. It reads, their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Let me read that again. Now, this is coming from the KJV version, and I'm going to read a couple of other versions so you can see how the other versions, Bible versions or Bible translation, really their versions, of how they read of this particular passage. Normally, I just focus on the KJV, and sometimes I'll play I'll quote from the Amplified Bible, but I'm going to do a couple of them, other translations, so you can understand here. So it says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. This is coming from the NIV Bible. Their tombs will remain their houses forever, their dwellings for endless generations, though they had named lands after themselves. This is coming from the Amplified Bible. Their inward thought is that their houses will continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They have named their lands after their own name, ignoring Yahweh, ignoring our Elohim. All right. So let's give confirmation from Josephus, because I like to give history when we're dealing with the history, especially when we're going back to the antiquities, those times. I like to pull out Josephus and some of the historians of that time. Now, I know some reject Josephus, don't want to deal with Josephus, but I like to pull Josephus out, right? Because I'd rather use him as a source than these so-called modern scholars, right, of today. You know, I'd rather use him because he is an Israelite and he lived during that time, and he can give you clarity of what our ancestors were teaching at that time. So let's see what Josephus says about a particular group that I'm going to reference. You see an image there, but let's see what Josephus actually says. He says here, right, in chapter 4, well, actually 5, excuse me. After this, they were dispersed abroad on account of their languages and went out by colonies everywhere. And each colony took possession of that land which they light up, and unto which Yahweh led them. Right? It goes on to say, so that the whole continent was filled with them. I'm just going to read God, because let me just say it just for the sake of reading it here. So which God led them, so that the whole continent was filled with them. both the inland and the maritime countries, there were some also who passed over the sea in ships and inhabited the islands. And some of those nations do still retain the denominations which were given them by their first founders. But some have lost them also, and have some only admitted certain changes in them that they might be more intelligible to the inhabitants. And they were the Greeks. That's right, family. Josephus wrote about how the Greeks were hijacking people's identities, hijacking cultures, hijacking land, hijacking families, hijacking the language. The Greeks who became the authors of such mutations. For when and after ages they grew potent, they claimed to themselves the glory of the antiquity. So even during that time of Josephus, the days that he lived, during the times of Christ, Hamashiach, the Messiah, guess what? He's making it clear at that time, the Greeks, which we see the playbook today, they were hijacking other people's heritage and cultures. Study Alexander the Great and you see what he was doing. See what he was leading, right? What he led at that time. But anyway, it says the Greeks who became the authors of such mutations, for when and after ages they grew potent. They claimed to themselves the glory of antiquity. In other words, the old times of that time, right? The time that he wrote this, the old times. So he's letting you know, especially when we start dealing with the time of the Maccabees and all that. Yes, the Greeks was hijacking. It was hijacking. You could read in the Maccabees and see what they were doing, trying to push their culture. Well, not just trying, it was forcing their culture on our ancestors. But anyway, it says the glory of the antiquities, giving names to the nations that sounded well in Greek, that they might be better understood among themselves, and setting agreeable forms of government over them, as if they were a people derived from themselves. Josephus is making it clear. The Greeks was hijacking. And you know the Romans did it too. They were hijacking. And we've been hacked. Our heritage was hijacked. So the name Africa, this is what I want to start off with to kind of lay out the foundation as we get to Nigeria. But the name Africa has a debated origin with multiple theories about its etymology. Historically, the continent was known by different names before the term Africa was widely used. The most widely accepted theory is that the name Africa comes from the Romans after they defeated the Carthaginians in the Third Punic War, 146 BC or BCE. Some claim that Africa was named after Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus, the Roman general who defeated Hannibal of Carthage in 202 BCE. And you see, I put an X there to tell you that that's wrong. Well, I know some of you guys are going to say, well, why is that wrong? Number one, because Roman generals were not named after they were not named after the lands they conquered, right? Let me say that again. This is unlikely because Roman generals were named. I said it incorrectly. Roman generals were named after the lands they conquered. Let me say that again. Roman generals were named after the lands they conquered, not the other way around. Let me say that again. Roman generals were named after the lands they conquered, not the other way around. They didn't give names to territories. They took on the names. Let me say that again. This is unlikely because Roman generals were named after the lands they conquered, not the other way around. So how did Africa get its name? Well, let's start with the etymology dictionary definition. Let's see what it says. Africa, land, right? We start here. Latin, Africa. Terra, we're dealing with land, right? African land. Libya, the Carthaginian territory. The province of Africa. Africa as a continent. We see here feminine of adjective Africus. From Afir and African. a word of uncertain origin. So they're saying right here, they really don't know the origins of this word, right? That's literally what it says there. A word of uncertain origin. The Latin word originally was used only to in reference to the region around modern Tunisia. So keep in mind, family, when it says that, especially when you look at Herodotus, when they made reference to, let's just say, calling, using the term Egypt, because oftentimes the rule of thumb is whatever was the dominant nation, the entire continent was named after. But when you look at the map that Herodotus used at his time, during his time, it was not drawn out to include the entire continent, because there was areas of Africa that was undiscovered by them, so to speak. That's why if you go to those early maps, you see it's laid out differently. Okay, but nevertheless, we'll talk about this more. But it says it gradually was extended to the whole continent. And that's the point that I want you guys to really underline. All right. So Africa as a continent, the feminine adjective Africas from Afar. So Africa, Afar. Well, why is this important? Well, we're going to answer this question. Did the Greeks create this name? You see that red X? The Greeks did not create the name Africa, right? Let me say that again. The Greeks did not create this name. But let's break this down more. Let's break this down. Josephus, right? Antiquities of the Jews. Y'all know we'll deal with that, right? You already know where I'm at with it, but I'm just reading it for the sake of this source. We'll say Yahweh, or Judah. But nevertheless, Book 1, Chapter 15 states that Abraham's sons by Keturah settled in Africa and Arabia, possibly implying that Africa was named after them. Okay, so let's go to Josephus. Let's see what he says here. All right, and look at what he says. He starts out right here. It says, the country of Africa took its name because these men were auxiliaries to Hercules when he fought against Libya and Antaeus, and that Hercules married Afra's daughter, and of her he begat a son, Diodorus, and that Sophon his son was his son, from whom that barbarous people called Sophacians were dominated. But let's go here. It says, who wrote a history of Judah in agreement with the history of Moses? Their legislators relates that there were many people that there were many sons born to Abraham by Keturah. Nay, he names 3 of them, Afar. So make a note of that. Afar, that is important. And as we go further, as we go down to here, it says from that the other 2, Afar and Jabron, right? The country of Africa took his name. Okay, that looks like it's a duplicate. Yeah, that's a duplicate. Yeah. My bad. My bad, family. I messed up on this slide here. This shouldn't have been there. I gotta correct that. All right, it should have started here and close out here. All right, but anyway, but we get the gist of it. Afra. So this saying that this comes from, again, Africa, according to Josephus and the historians, saying Africa, Afar or Afar, that's a Shemitic name, right? If it comes from Abraham, that means that the name Africa is Shemitic, not Hamitic. That's telling us that Africa, the name Africa itself, is a Shemitic name. If it comes by way of Abraham's son, Abraham was a Hebrew, right? He's also Shemitic because he's from the bloodline of Shem by way of Eber. So the name Africa, according to Josephus and other historians, is a Shemitic name. hope that helps many of our brothers and sisters, because we got quite a few brothers and sisters in this awakening that would use that name Africa as if it's a bad word in terms of when we talk about Israel. Israel is located in Africa, period. You can't get away from that. It's in Africa. And many of our brothers and sisters have gone to the extremes of using photos, trying to determine, all right, well, this is how an African look. This is how a Hamite look, but we look different from them. When the scriptures makes it clear, especially when we read Amos telling us that Israel looked just like the Ethiopians or Cush. We got plenty of examples. Joseph was mistaken to be an Egyptian by way of his own brothers. All of them thought that he was an Egyptian. Apostle Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. So let's stop with promoting the stereotypes that our oppressors have put together to use. There's, those that are of other nations, of other nations within Africa have their cultures like the Egyptians? Yes, that's not our culture. But let's not continue to perpetuate the stuff that the institution of race that the colonizers created to cause separation. Anyway, let's continue. So is the original name of Africa Akibulan? Because that's, I used to say that until I did a deep dive on that. Akibulan, is that the original name? Let me say this again. Let me not say it again because I'm saying it for the first time on this live. European explorers and historians from the Greek and Roman periods did not mention Akibulan as the name of the continent. Instead, names such as Ethiopia, Libya, and Africa were commonly used. While Akibulan is sometimes presented as the original indigenous name of Africa, note there's no concrete historical evidence that confirms it or confirms that it was widely used across the continent. Let me say that again. There's no concrete historical evidence that says that Akibulan was the name that was being used by every tribe scattered around Africa. Because when you think about it, many tribes, they were designated they stayed in the lands that they occupied. That was their territories. We could take it a step further. I'm from Jersey. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, right? And I got relatives that, literally never left New Jersey, never left Newark. Don't even know what life is outside of Newark. I got relatives that lived in an apartment for all their life. Anyway, but let me say this again. Akibulan is sometimes presented as the original indigenous name of Africa, but there's no concrete historical evidence that confirms it was widely used across the continent. Let's deal with another thing, because we see Africa, right? But I want to make it clear, right? We want to deal with that sound. This is a question. I already knew the answer, but I wanted to see how ChatGPT was going to respond to, because I've been teaching ancient Hebrew for 10 years now, over 10 years now, right? But I wanted to see how ChatGPT responded to it. Is the F or F sound originally to the name Africa? Now, this is the actual question. When was the F sound introduced in ancient Hebrew? The Israeli pei or fe, I should say, or fe did not exist, nor did vowel letters and points. So this is my question that I asked ChatGPT. And look at how ChatGPT responded, right? This is its response to my question, right? Nevertheless, the PH or F sound in ancient Hebrew is a later development that came through Greek and Europeans transliterations, not from the original language itself. In ancient Hebrew, the letter pa did not have a distinct F sound as it does in modern Israeli Hebrew, where Pa has a soft f sound, like that's what we get into fe, pay, fe, sound without a dagesh. All right. So this is the backdrop right here. Look at what it says here. It says, as established, ancient Hebrew did not contain the f sound. The letter pa was exclusively pronounced as a hard P with no softening of F or PH. The soft F sound, likely like Israeli fe without a dagesh, or pay without a dagesh, but we're actually saying fe without a dagesh. But notice it's using the word Israeli. It's not saying just Hebrew, is using the phrase Israeli. We'll deal with that another time. Only appears after the introduction of matrices, the Masoretic phonetics, right, in between the 6th and 10th century CE. Greek and Latin transliterations introduced the PH, the f sound, when they adapted Hebrew words into their alphabets. And look at entry number 2, the original structure of ancient Hebrew. Ancient Hebrew was a consonant script with no vowels, no nikud, in other words, dots. So when it says no vowels, this is saying vowel letters is really what it's pointing to. That's where you get into the matrices like the Ionis. And then the dots, nikud, or Masoretic points. And no phonetic markers, no matrices like the Ionis, in other words, vowel letters. And this is what it just lets us know that, again, there was no PH, there was no f sound. Okay? So what makes an Israelite according to scripture? Let's deal with this real quick. All right. I'm just going to give scripture. I'm not going to go in deep into the other stuff. I'll do that this weekend. But let's use this as a foundation, family. This right here knocks down the law of return, how it defines Jew. And they try to make it biblical, which we know is not biblical. Right? What I mean by that the mother, right, the child's nationality, so to speak, is determined by the mother. No, according to the Hebrew Israelites, according to the ancient Hebrew Israelites, in our law, right, it makes it clear that it's established by way of the father. Patrilineal, not matrilineal. All right. So let's read it real quick. Numbers chapter 27, starting at verse 8. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if a man die and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughters. Look at this again. If a man die, this is a father. If a father dies and have no son, if a man dies and have no son, I said father because if you don't have a son, but then again, he can have a daughter. That's what it's saying. If a man dies and have no son, right? If father dies, he have no son. But if he have daughters, guess what? His inheritance to pass unto his daughter. But it goes even further. If he have no daughter, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brethren. And if he have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his father's brethren. So you notice this is focusing on who? The father's side of the family. And this is how they prevented tribes taking over other tribes' territories. All right. I have other scriptures, but I just want to use this as a baseline. Verse 11. And if his father have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his kinsmen, like cousins, or, basically the nearest relative, the closest relative that is next to him of his family. And he shall possess it, and it shall be unto the children of Israel as a statute of judgment, as Yahweh commanded Moses. So this is what the most, when we read Ruth, right? When Boaz wanted to marry Ruth, guess what? He had to go to the next kin to get the blessing from him, because he wasn't in alignment with that. It's right here, family. It is right here. So what is Nigeria? What is Nigeria? What is Nigeria? Is this country, or is this the original name of this country or territory? Where did the name originate? Where did the name Nigeria originate? Who named the region? I want to show this here to you guys. And let me zoom it in. Let's zoom in right here. The royal, I want to say this again, so you guys can understand this, right? You guys got to understand this, right? Because there's a lot of, and I'm not trying to put down our brothers and sisters, many of our brothers and sisters, but there's a lot of junk information that is being passed around in this awakening. It's so much junk information. So many people are literally walking away from the Most High altogether because of a lot of the junk information that people are saying, man, I can't roll with that. That is just going way out in left field now. Some of the stuff that we're hearing, family. And I've taught and stood in the gap trying to, be a voice out there. And of course, you guys already see the results in that. And I'm going to keep standing strong against a lot of the craziness that is circulating out here that's confusing people, right? But look at this here. You see here, the right where this X is, this arrow is, you see the royal, the royal.
Here's a chart.
Oops, wrong one. I had the wrong one there. Let me put this here. All right. The royal.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
And notice you see company. The royal and company. So this was not a negative word. And I'm going to show sources on that. I know this can confuse a lot of our brothers and sisters, but this is facts. Like everything that was ours, they came in and they made it a negative thing. Think about how they hijacked the word woke. And now our own brothers and sisters are railing against the word woke. Don't want to even mention woke, because how they've taken something that was for our community. For example, woke made it clear that we were aware of the politics, all the things that the government was doing to our people. That word woke had a special meaning among our community. Now, our own brothers and sisters are railing against it. It started with the Republican Party. They started attaching the feminist movement to it, the gay and lesbian movement. Everything is now woke in from a perspective of how it's been taken out of its context. But I'm going to keep saying we woke now. That's biblical. That is biblical, as I taught about the prophecies of how the Most High was going to use our captivity to wake us up. So when you say you woke, right, that is what? Past, right? Anyway, let me get out of that. So that's what they do. That's what they have done. That's what they have done. But you see, it was not a negative word. That's the point I want to reiterate. All right, but let's continue. Let's continue. This map is the map of Hauseland, Captain Lugard, and Reverend C.H. Robinson's routes. All right. So this gives you the routes with the arrows, the red and the dots. So it tells you how they travel through this entire region. But you see a company here. You see the Royal N Company. You also see British Protectorate, right? This is showing the main companies, 3 companies that literally annexed the entire continent of Africa. So let's break down this word right here, because it's another word that I want to highlight here. As you see here, Adamawa. Adamawa. Let's zoom in. Right? Adamawa. Adamawa. What does that mean? What does that word mean? What does that word mean? Well, this the Nuttall Encyclopedia of Universal Information. Let's see what it says. This is published in 1900, right? Let's see what it says in here. Let's see the entry that's here. All right. It says here, Adamawa, a region in the lower Sudan. So this is Sudan, with a healthy climate and a fertile soil, rich in all tropical products. So Adamawa, why is that important? Why is that important, family? Doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound familiar, family? Adamawa. Adamawa. Let's break this Adamawa down. Look at that right there. That is a man's hand in South Sudan, right? Northeastern South Sudan. Has his hand placed over soil there. Of course, it's a drought going on during this time when I got this photo, because I want to show the proper clarity of Jeremiah 15, where it says Judah is blackened to the ground. This is what it really meant, Quadar, right? Showing that the Israelites, because of the drought, they were what? It's saying that they were dark and ashy. All right. So, and I'm gonna say this, moderators, let's make sure we don't have anyone posting any kind of information here. I see someone making a comment here, and I'm going to remove it. And I'm not even going to entertain that. America is the real Egypt. That's not correct, but we're going to remove that. I'm just going to give a warning. Let's not post any of that stuff here. We don't roll with that. So moderators, if you see anything like that, give a warning. And if they continue to post stuff like that, if you violate what we're doing here, then just go ahead and kick them out altogether. But right now, give them a warning. But we're not rolling with that stuff over here. So a man places his hand on parched soil and northeastern South Sudan, right? And look at what you see here. Look at what you see here. Come on, family. You put your hand on some rich soil. How is it going to look? But you know what? I couldn't stop there, because I have an image of someone doing soil testing over in that same part, in that same territory. Let me show you here. Here it is. Here it is. Right? Soil sample in Northeast Africa, now known as the so-called Middle East. So they taken some soil, some rich soil from there. Right? This is a Caucasian person. Does that soil match that skin, or does it match your skin complexion when you put it up against it? Let's zoom it in. Some of you guys may need to see it enlarged. Come on, family. This is rich soil right here. Is that comparable to the hand right here? Is that comparable? This is a Caucasian holding Adama inside her hand, because I had other images. I didn't have a chance to put it in here. Inside her hand. And look at how she's comparing it to the colors here. Does that look like her complexion here? And this is not trying to throw any shots at anyone, but the facts are the facts when we look at that word Adama. All right. So healthy climate and fertile soil. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. It says, and Yahweh formed man, Adam, of the dust, Apar, of the ground, Adamah, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And we see this here, Kai Yam. Yam is the masculine plural. So Kaya, life. So this saying that the Most High did this continuously. It wasn't just he just breathed into his nostrils one time. He continuously breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, right? Until it says, and man Adam became a living soul. Kaya napash. So the Most High in the Israeli be kai nefesh. But anyway, again, the Most High didn't just breathe into Adam's lungs, so to speak, one time. He did it multiple times continuously. All right. So I want to make sure that you guys understand it's similar to CPR. When they are trying to resuscitate someone, they don't just blow into their mouth or their lungs one time. It's a continuous process. Okay. Verse 8. And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden, Gan or Ghana, eastward in Eden by Adon. Right. So this is making it clear that the Most High took Adam. Adam was already created, as you see here, and there he put the man whom he had formed. So this is telling you that Adam was not created in the garden. Let me read it again. And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. So we know that Adam was not created inside the garden. Verse 9, and out of the ground made Yahweh Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life. And look at what it says again, Kaya Yam or Kai Yam, saying that it is what? Continuously, right? Continue, perpetually. The tree of life, perpetually, right? Is good. It says here, that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and of the tree, Atzah, or Atz, of knowledge, Da'ath of good, Tawab and evil. All right, let me read it one more time. And out of the ground made Yahweh Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. All right. So let's go to the Hebrew definition of this word Adamah. This is important because we saw Adamawa on this map. Right. This is what it says. And this is the entry here. The Strong's H127, Adamah. Let's see how it reads. It reads soil, right? From its general redness, right? We see country, earth, ground, husband. In other words, when we see husband, right? This is where we get abadah, right? When you study the word abadah, that is someone that is a tiller, because Adam was a tiller and a keeper. A tiller is someone that is also where you get the word cultivate. You'll also get the word culture. The whole purpose of someone being a cultivator, is that they are promoting what? The culture of growth. So Adam promoted, his responsibility was what? Promoting the culture of growth. Adam, all right? But anyway, Adamah, earth, ground, husband. So that's why you see husband or husbandman or husbandry, right? So I just wanted to break that down real quick. So is it possible that this could be the region where Adam was created, right? Because the Garden of Eden is a region, not what we've been in our minds. We would think that the Garden of Eden, when you think about garden, you may look in your backyard and got a garden there. No, the Garden of Eden was a region, and that's a whole nother discussion that we'll do this year. All right, I may even do it next week. So could this be the same region where the soil was so fertile that Yahweh created Adam? Right? Could this be the same region where the soil was so fertile that Yahweh planted the Garden of Eden? That's just a question. Now let's go to another source, right? Because now we're going to deal with Nigeria. I just threw that out there so you could get more clarity or understanding when we say Garden of Eden. But looking at that map, because there's some Hebrew references on that map that I shared of Hasalan, right? So we saw Adamawa, right? We can see that is a Hebrew word. That is a Hebrew word. But let's go ahead and get into the background of Nigeria. Nigeria background to nationalism. Page 44. Historical background. Until the turn of the 19th century, until the turn of the 19th century, the areas embraced in the whole or in part by the then geographical expression now named Nigeria were referred to by a variety of names. The immediate predecessors have been noted, right? So Nigeria, that whole territory at one time was called Colony of Lagos. The Niger Coast Protectorate actually wasn't Niger. Like I said, it was actually pronounced
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
All right, Coast Protectorate. And the territories in the basin of the
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
All right, and its affluents, administered by the Royal
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
Other earlier names reflecting the caprice of the cartographer or travelers included Sudan or
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
All right, Hausa states, Central Sudan, Guinea Coast, Slave Coast,
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
Empire. Then we see the same
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
Sudan. Okay. The first official recognition of the name, you guys get it. I'm not going to keep playing it because I want to wear it out here. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because of YouTube. They've really been doing a lot with this channel. So I just want to make sure that they don't flag this here for being hate speech, because they've been taking down some of my older videos, and I've been literally contesting a number of videos because of me, some of my teachings just being blunt with certain things. That's why I'm playing this recording, so that way I can use this if they try to flag this again, like they've done in the past. I can say, hey, this is actually a Greek word in the proper pronunciation. All right. But nevertheless, it says here, several persons have tried, however, to discover who coined the name. That's the point that I really want to focus in on. Several persons have tried, however, to discover who coined the name. And then we see here, Green, or according to A.H.M. Kirk Green, it was the London Times in January 8th, 1897 issue. The Times suggested that as the title royal, I'll just say N word for now, company's territories is not only inconvenient to use, but to some extent is also misleading. It may be permissible to coin a shorter title for the agglomeration of pagan and Mohammedan states. Excuse me for butchering the word. My apologies, family. But anyway, it goes on to say, thus needed for the first time in their history to describe as an entity by some general name, to speak of them as the Central Sudan, which is the title accorded by some geographers and travelers, has the disadvantage of ignoring political frontier. The name Nigeria, right, not Nigeria, right, applied to no other portion of Africa, may without offense to any neighbors be accepted as coextensive with the territories. But it goes on to say, may serve to differentiate them equally from the British colonies of Lagos and the N-word Protectorate on the coast, and from the French territories. So you see, these are three different countries here. I mean, not countries, but companies. You have the French, the British colonies, and also we have the N-word Protectorate. So all three of them are key, they're key for annexing the entire continent. All right. It goes on to say, thus in the historical development of the country Nigeria, I'm just going to say Nigeria for now, The North was, in a sense, tacked onto the South, but the name Nigeria was first given to the North. So this source doesn't tell us who came up with the name of the territory, but it gives the newspaper publication and quotes from the article without saying who wrote it. So the question is, who wrote it? Well, who coined the name of this region? Her name is Flora Shaw. Let me say that again. Her name is Flora Shaw. The name originates and accredited to Flora Shaw. This woman right here. This is coming from Journal of Africa, History, Volume 1, 1960, number 1. All right, let's see what it says. All right, I'm just going to fast forward here. Yeah, right here. On January, it says on 8th January 1897, the name of Nigeria appeared in print for the first time. It was the title of an article in our leading newspaper written by Miss Flora Shaw, who at that time did the colonies for the Times. As Cecil Rhodes expressed it, Miss Shaw later became the wife of Lord Lugard, the great builder of Nigeria and one of the greatest of all British colonial administrators. And here is what Miss Shaw said. The name thus originated by Flora Shaw, did not receive, well, actually, I didn't put the quote here, but I'm just skipping to another section here. But it says, the name originated by Miss Flora Shaw did not receive official recognition until the territories of the Royal Inward Company were formally taken over by the imperial government on 1 January 1900. And with the addition of the colony of Lagos and the Inward Coast Protectorate were formed into the two administrations known as Northern Nigeria and Southern Nigeria. 14 years later, these two administrations were amalgamated into a single Nigeria, which then became, in respect of population, the largest dependency in the British Empire, with solitary exception of India. Come on, family. If you really understood the history, the British Empire, they conquered India, they conquered Australia. Matter of fact, Canada. The royal family owns half of Canada. Anyway, the name Nigeria is, of course, derived from the river. Y'all see it here, the N word, not Niger, the N word, which rises in the hinterland of Sierra Leone. And after flowing through French West Africa for a distance of nearly 2,000 miles. So just giving us some information on this. All right. So it goes on to say the great river of Ethiopia, which what we call Kush in the scriptures, or Kawash, however you want to pronounce it. But the great river of Ethiopia, which is also known as the Nile of the Negroes. So again, Miss Flora Shaw did not receive official recognition until the territories of the Royal Inward Company were formally taken over by the imperial government, right, on the 1st of January, 1900. So she is the one that came up with that name. And you could also research what is called the Berlin West Africa Conference, right, and get more information on this. So why did the concert of Europe assemble at Berlin to toy with the future of another continent with reference to its leaders? Well, why did Africa petition what was petitioned and conquered at the time that it was? Why did they petition it? Why did they annex it the way that they did? Why did the scramble for Africa turn into a territorial steeplechase? Why Africa was such an easy prey to its adversaries at this point in time has not been given much serious attention. So the Berlin Conference, right, took about 3.5 months from November 15th, 1884 to February 26, 1885. It resulted in an act that did three things. Well, what are the three things? The first was to recognize the territory that King Leopold claimed as his private property. The second was to recognize some existing territorial claims in different parts of Africa. The third and most important results of the conference was to set up a way for Europeans to claim and annex territory in Africa. And so the entire conference was based and fueled on a racist idea that all this land was unclaimed and that local societies could not simply rule themselves. That's because King Leopold, and also when you understand the transatlantic world war, it decimated the territories. It decimated it. So he killed, anywhere from 10 to 20 million people of our ancestors in the Congos. The entire conference was based and fueled on a racist idea that all this land was unclaimed and that local societies could not simply rule themselves. A group of European men representing 12 countries in Europe, an American representative, and one from the Ottoman Empire attended this conference. King Leopold, and this I want to make sure you guys understand, he slaughtered between 10 to 15 local Negroes. Actually, it was in the upwards of 20 when you really do the history on this. But this is just an article that I'm quoting from. And before I touch on this article, I want to make this clear. It was nothing but Europeans there. There was not a single Negro territory representative that was in this conference. It was all Europeans. That's the point I want to make sure I reiterate. So King Leopold slaughtered of 10 to 15 million local Negroes to further push the lie that the territory was uninhabited, right? This is coming from Premium Times, right? Belgium too arrogant to acknowledge, to apologize for killing 15 million Congolese, right? And this is what it says. It states, to be sure, all European colonialists carried out unspeakable atrocities in Africa. The first and most benumbing was the Belgian seizure of the DRC in 1885 by King Leopold II, the brother of King Philippe's great-grandfather, under whose rule 15 million Congolese were murdered. This is the highest known figure of genocide in the world history. But guess what? You'll see that every time we talk about our history, who always put their stuff on top of it and make it sound as if theirs was the worst, like they would say, theirs was the worst atrocities that ever occurred to, anyway. Even in the lunatic Nazi Holocaust against innocent, defenseless Jews, the highest estimate casualty figure was 6 million. I'm not going to get into that. You guys already know the truth behind it, the actual number, just dealing with Poland, the Polish Jews per se, and with Auschwitz, they protested saying that it wasn't 4 million, that, dealing with those incinerators, and the number was reduced from 4 million to like 1.2 million right now. And it just says mainly Jews. So that in itself reduces that number from 6 million, and you just take at least 2.5 million off of that. So now you're getting down to what, 3.5 million, right? But no matter what, regardless, innocent death is innocent death. And that's one thing I want to make sure I stress. But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. Yet till today, the Germans show remorse. They paid reparations and teach their children that there is no excuse whatsoever for such atrocities and that everything must be done to ensure genocide never occurs again. In contrast, the Belgians show no remorse, would not apologize, pay no reparations, make excuses for the genocide. All right. Let me show you the insensitivity here. Another article, Jewish Telegraphic Agency, Belgian Jews greet King Leopold III. March 20th, 1934. See, this is the history that you don't hear about. Let's see what happens here with these Belgian Jews, per se. It says King Leopold III, young Belgian monarch, this is the son of King Leopold II, today received a Jewish deputation consisting of the chief rabbi of Belgium, Dr. Joseph Wiener, and representatives of the Jewish consistory, the deputation congratulated the king on his having ascended the throne of Belgium. Now, King Leopold is one of many Hitlers to our community, right? We could say the entire world was a Hitler to our community. But look at here, it shows that the Jewish community of Belgium, they congratulated, they celebrated the installation of the son of King Leopold, who killed anywhere from 15 to 20 million of our ancestors, right? But they celebrated. Come on, family. Come on, family. That should make each and every one of you guys to look side-eye. All right? Let's see here. Let me look here, see where we are. Let me give some shout outs here. Didn't know that we had some super chats here. I want to say peace and blessings to Sean Gomes. Thank you for the love and support. Really appreciate it. Also, family, let's show some love to Meeting Place. Thank you for great lesson. All right, family, let's show some love for Meeting Place, and also let's show some love for Sean Gomes. Really appreciate the love and support. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right, family. So we covered, right, how Nigeria got its name. We proved with sources that it was, as we shared here, Flora Shaw, European, who named that entire region. We proved it with sources, right? So, if the only thing you can do is give the truth. You can't make anyone receive it, right? You cannot make anyone receive it. But let's continue here, family. Let's continue. Got some time here. Are there any prophecies about the battle for Africa? Yes, there are. Revelation chapter 9, starting at verse 7. I'm not going to go into the details of this, but when I initially taught this revelation, this is like I said, I used to be an end time prophecy geek, right? I was one of those enthusiasts. When I would teach Revelation chapter 9, I would equate this to initially many of us were equated to the Gulf War, with how the U.S. raided the Kuwait, right? And many will also equate this to, Japan. When you start dealing with the 200 million, that's a whole nother discussion. But this right here, I was equating that using the European approach to the text, trying to use it to what? Modern things that affect who? The Europeans, everyone that have oppressed us. But after going back over, right, stripping away all the European influence that Christianity and Catholicism have really had me blinded with, when I start going back over and I always knew our history, reading these prophecies makes sense. Let me explain to you real quick, and let me read it and I'll explain as we go on. It says here, "And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were gold, crowns like gold." Think about the hats that they wore at the time. "And their faces were as the faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women." Think about the Europeans that invaded. This is dealing with an invasion of Africa. This is the Europeans invading, going to different areas, invading by way of war and hijacking us. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots, and many horses running to battle. Think about the sound of the wind hitting those sails. Think about the sound of the cannons. Think about the sound of their artillery. Verse 10, and they had tails like unto scorpions. Come on, family. Think about those tails. Think about those whips. Think about those cannons. Think about their rifles, right? That had the knives at the tip of them. Come on, family. See, again, we've been programmed, and many of our brothers and sisters in this awakening, they keep teaching prophecy through the lens of the Europeans that they were taught. They will wash over the transatlantic world war. They'll wash over the Indian, right? Because you have the Spanish Inquisition, but even before the Spanish Inquisition, you could even talk about the Indians Inquisition that began like the 4th, 5th century, where many of our ancestors fled from Israel and fled over to India. But they don't want to talk about that. They want to keep this European approach. The Great Tribulation, guess what? Great Tribulation is us going through what we had to go through outside of Jerusalem. That's the Great Tribulation. They followed us no matter where we went in this, to the four corners we were scattered to. They followed us. When I say they, the descendants of Japheth, the son of perdition, they followed us no matter where we went. So we're dealing with an invasion of Africa. Come on, family. I know this is the unpopular truth, and I'm not going to change or bite my tongue for what I teach. I know you already know that there were channels and people coming up with all kinds of lies, trying to bend and twist my words around, saying, oh, he said that, the mark of the beast was the fleur de lis. No, what I said was the mark of the beast is authentication, getting approved that we could not buy or sell. And I use the transatlantic world war as an example that our people could not buy or sell without their approval. We couldn't even move around a plantation without having a letter or a ticket giving us permission to go across the point. We could not travel among that plantation. And what did they brand in our people with? The fleur de lis, which they call the lotus flower. And guess what? They're still branding us right now. You can't buy or sell without a social security card. You can't buy or sell with a birth certificate. You cannot buy or sell without them running your credit check. You can't even get insurance or open up a bank account without having them pull your credit. At one time, they didn't touch your credit report when opening up a bank account. At one time, they didn't look at your credit scores to open up an insurance account. Come on, family. It's their system that we constantly have to use to get validated. That's what the mark of the beast is. The system of men that we constantly use to get validated with. That's that we have to deal with that validation through what? Christianity, right? We have to deal with that validation, right? When we deal with DNA, who owns those companies? Who owns the chip that's inside your ATM card? Who owns the ATM card? But because of the foolishness, man, the delusion, that strong delusion that the son of perdition, the sons of Japheth has on our community, that our brothers and sisters did what? Attack me as if I was attacking them personally. And bent and twisted the words that I've been teaching for years on top of years. But where are they? Crickets. Come on, family. This is an invasion of Africa. This is an invasion of Africa. So this further proves what I just presented to you, family. This further proves that the word, let me play this audio here because you know how it goes. I explained it to you guys. But this further proves that
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
That initially this was not a derogative word, but it's all good, family. See, I love it when we deal with the separation like that. See, every time I go through this and I have to deal with different groups, what it does is it brings separation. Because no one can say that I roll, that PFR, Passion for Reconciliation, we woke now, roll with any of the foolishness out there, because judgment is coming. Trust me. Every doctrine that's out there, the Most High is going to hold these groups accountable. And guess what? The truth is unpopular. The scriptures talk about, Isaiah even said it, they're going to take the lies and make the lies into truths and make the truth into lies. So again, that word that I just pointed out, that
Strong's G 3526, Niger.
It was initially it was not a derogative word. Come on, family. I know many of you guys are hesitant about saying this word, but initially this word was not a negative word, because actually this word in the Ethiopian language, which is ancient Gaaz, it meant kings, lords, captains. But in the Hebrew, same thing. King, captain, governor. That's why when you see them naming that their business called the what? The N-word protectorate, or the British protectorate, guess what? That is saying what? The British governor, the British captain, the British authority. That's what that word meant. Not what has been made out to where it is today. And I'm going to show you who is the who is responsible for that. And I'm going to give you sources, family. This was not a negative word. Let me prove it. Right? Let me prove it. Because I played the Greek, right? I played the Greek pronunciation of the word that it comes from. And you see that it's in the scriptures. So is Negro, or the N-word, interchangeable or connected to N-I-G-G-E-R? I'll spell it out. Is Negro, N-I-G-E-R, interchangeable or connected to N-I-G-G-E-R? Are these three words connected? Let's go to the online etymology dictionary definition and compare it to the Barnhart Concise dictionary definition of the word Negro. Right. This is coming from the and I encourage you guys, get a copy of this here. Get a physical copy, because they're doing a lot of changes to the online definitions, etymology, because I introduced that to our community. You know, the online etymology dictionary, over 10 years ago. Been using this, anyway, a whole nother discussion. But you'll see how these words, these definitions are changing. So here it says here, Negro, black-skinned person from Africa or of African descent, borrowed from Spanish or Portugal, Negro, black, Negro from Latin. And look at what you see here. What you see here is not Niger, but the actual pronunciation. Let me play it again, because this is an entry in the Greek
Strong's G 3526, Niger. Niger.
Strong's G 3526. That's the entry there. And that's what you're listening to. The actual pronunciation of this word. So it wasn't Niger. It was Niger with a hard G, not a soft G. All right. Not the J sound. All right. So what is the proper pronunciation of this word? Well, you already heard it. Is it the same as Niger? Century Dictionary, 1895 dictionary definition of the N-word, Niger. Look at what it says. Niger, pronounced Niger, formerly, look at this. These are the words, formerly Niger, Neger, Nejar, Neager. So it's saying all of this word, including that word that now we have been we have been hacked to say Niger. It was pronounced the same way as Niger. Niger, Nigar, Niger. All of these were pronounced the same. Now look at what it says here, right? We see how it says Danish, Russian, right? French, We see Spain, Portugal. But look at what it says. Nigger, and it's telling us Negro. So these were interchangeable. A black man, a Negro. And then it tells us C Negro, right? Then it says Nigger is not as generally supposed, right? In other words, a corruption of Negro. See, this wasn't that's what this is saying. It's not a derogative word at that time, but it said, look at what it says, but it is regularly developed from the earlier form of Niger, which is derived through French or France. French, right? From Spain. And then it says Portugal Negro, from which English Negro is taken directly. So I'm going to touch on this real quick, because by the time we get to the English, or should I say here in the United States, they began to take these and really add some of the negative stuff to it to make it into a slang. As you see here, a black man, a Negro. Nigger is more English informed than Negro, and was formerly and to some extent still is used without appropriate intent. But its use is now confined to colloquial or illiterate speech. So what it is saying is, it was changed. Now, when you hear Nigger, now it's used as colloquialism or slang, because again, you had the British company refer to themselves as this name with a hard G, not no J sound. They refer to themselves as the what?
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Strong's G.
All right. So I wanted to make sure you hear that, guys. That I know many of you guys may cringe from it, but facts are facts. Facts are the facts. And they have made it a point. Everything that was positive in our community, they made it a negative thing. Blackface. The blackface minstrels made so many of our brothers and sisters ashamed of being dark-skinned. That's why many of them, even today, are bleaching their skins. Bleaching. You got a lot of people that, especially in some over in the Caribbean, some over in Africa, even in this country, are bleaching their skin. Bleaching their skin because of what? Think about the influence of blackface. When you understand blackface, when you understand Ethiops, it means what? Black face, burnt face. Ether comes from that word ether, right? Anyway, come on, family. Let's continue here. All right. Negro had a unique meaning in the United States. See, my grandmother didn't even want to be called Negro because of how it meant and how the definition was defined, how it's redefined uniquely for the United States and its territories. This is coming from Negro Law of South Carolina from John Belton O'Neill, 1848, page 9. Section 1, the Act of 1740, Section 1 declares all Negroes and Indians free, in other words, free Indians in amity with this government, Negroes, mulattoes, and mestizos, who now are free, accepted. But notice what it says is to be slaves, the offsprings to follow the condition of the mother. Go figure. This tells you who has an influence of this, because it's saying that the offsprings follow the condition of who? The mother. And that such slaves are chattel, in other words, cattle personal. All right. Section 2 of this law says, under the provision, it has been formally held that color is prima facie evidence that the party bearing the color of a Negro, mulatto, or mustezo, it says, is a slave. But the same prima facie results does not follow from the Indian color. Section 4, look at what it says. Now is literally giving you a definition for Negro that's unique for the U.S. and its territories. The term Negro is confined to slave Africans. In other words, it says here, the ancient Berbers and their descendants. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as Egyptians, Moors, or the Negro Asiatics, such as the Lascars. So you see, it says here the term Negro is confined to slave Africans. And this is the Negro Law of South Carolina, John Belton O'Neill, 1848, page 9. Come on, family. If you really understand, if we're talking about reparations, you better use that word Negro, because the law, this right here proves, this law right here gives us an argument for reparation. But when you start using colored, when you start using we're African Americans, we are black, guess what? Now you remove yourself from these codes right here. President Obama, when he signed the executive order saying that we're going to be recognized as African Americans officially, what he did was throw a monkey wrench inside what? Reparations. Come on, family. The Negro Law ties into what? The NIGGER, right? And this is the argument for reparations. But when you walk away from this phrase right here, you have no argument. We have no argument for reparations. That's why even when I hear the term, and not trying to throw shade at the FBA, foundational blacks, no, you should be saying foundational Negroes. Foundational Negroes. Then you have an argument for reparations. Because when you say black, now you remove yourself from these laws, and now you start what? Getting into the institution of race. Now you get to lump everyone up under that. Anyway, let me stop, family. Let me stop. Come on, family. Man. So let's go to the Oxford Compact Dictionary definition of NIGGER. Look at what it says. NIGGER. Now look at this, family. For those that still don't want to believe me, let me zoom this in. NIGGER, also NIGGAR, it says alteration of NEGER. Look at this, also NIGER and NIGRE. So it makes it clear that NIGER, which we've been programmed to say Niger, no, that's not the original pronunciation. That's what this is telling you right here. And it goes on to say a Negro colloquialism, right? And usual contemptuous. So this is now telling us the colloquialism, the slang of this that was added to the word. It says here, 1786, Burns ordination, fourth, how graceless Ham laugh at his dad, which made Canaan NIGGER. But look at right here. This is the point that I really wanted to highlight. Contempt of the poor blacks, or NIGGERs, as they are called, seems the national sin of America. So to say that the United States, right, this country is made the word NIGGER or NIGER, even NEGROES, Negroes, made these words into a slang, a derogative slang, a byword. Sound like Deuteronomy, right? 28. Made it into a byword, just like they do everything that's pointed at our community. Even DEI, right, is a byword, even though others benefited from it. But when it comes to pointing fingers, they use DEI to come at who? Come at who? Our community. I don't care who benefited from it, but when it comes to pointing fingers and calling names, come on, family. They've been doing DEI on what's his name that did the Super Bowl show? I can't think of his name. That did Not Like Us. What's his name? I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Let's continue, family. So again, contempt of poor blacks, or NIGGER, as they are called, seems the national sins of America. But when we go to the etymology of niggas, NEGUS, right? Kendrick Lamar, thanks for the help, right? Appreciate it. It says Negus, Negus, title of the ruler of Abyssinia, right? From Amharic, Semitic, Negush, king, stems from Nagasha, he forced rule, but the ancient will be Naga. Anyway, let me get out of that. But we still see Negus. This still ties into Negroes. So we already dealt with this. I'm not going to get into the guys, and this is just showing you the ancient pronunciation of those words. I'm not going to get into this right now. So does Negus mean king of king, lord of lords? Well, here's the source. Negus, Nagaste. Look at this here. Nigger, Nigga, and it gives you Negus and how it connects to these two words here. A unique derivative of an ancient title. Negus is king, a term originated from Abyssinia, a king used as a title of the sovereign of Ethiopia. The term is originated by its native Ethiopian Amharic language. Since the creation of the title, Negus has been used to identify but defined differently and psychologically changed the minds of captive Africans, right? Let me read that part again. I want to just brush over this. It says, has been used to identify but defined differently to psychologically change the minds of captive Africans to rethink of themselves as someone less than whom they are. They worked up, they accomplished this. Now we good at saying this among one another, you know, DMX, love my, y'all know what I'm talking about. We can say that to one another. That's my man in them. Dude, what we do? Oh, right? We can say that among each other. And we use it among each other. But we don't want somebody else outside our community to say this because we know that because of the colloquialism that is used, that it was always used as a negative thing. But internally within the community, we have no problem with saying, hey, that's my N-word. That's my boy. That's my dog. And we use it in the proper context. But it makes you not want to use it. Why? Because of how it's being used. Just like we have brothers and sisters that don't want to say that they're woke. I'll say I'm awakened. I'll say anything but saying that you woke. You have politicians. You have Negroes that call themselves being pro-community using the word, oh, I can't stand these woke people. What? Don't have a clue. But that's all right. That's all right. Most High made it clear. Be ashamed of him now. He'll be ashamed of us later. All right. But as we see here, a prayer of Negus Nagaste, in other words, King of Kings. All right. Let's fast forward. The Oxford Compact Dictionary of Negus, as we see here, is just confirming the same thing here. Amharic, Negus or Negus, king. Right? Supreme ruler. So this is still bearing witness of what I just read to you. What is the Hebrew word for that's synonymous to Negus? Negus? Well, let me show you here. Right? In the Israeli, Nagid, right? These are two pronunciations, especially when you use the yod, correct yod, right? All right. But anyway, it's still pronounced the same way. All right. So it says here, Nagid, in the ancient Nagad. But look at what it says. Commander, civil, military, or religious. And it goes on to say chief, in other words, governor, leader, noble, prince. And we see this in 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 16, referring to who? King Saul. Tomorrow about this time, I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be captain. And there we see that word, right, over my people, Israel, that he may serve my people out of the hand. He may save my people out of the hand of the Philistines. All right. We see it in 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 2. When King Saul was king over us, thou was he that led us out and brought us in Israel. And Yahweh said to thee, thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be a captain over Israel. Right? Then we see it again, Nagad or Nagayad, right? Now, what does it sound like, family? Right? So this is still a Shemitic word, right? Just like Negus in ancient Gaaz or Ge'ez. Guess what? That language is a Shemitic language. It falls under the tree of Shemitic languages. That's the one thing that many don't know and don't understand. So a deeper discovery of Nigger, right? Let's see what is. Let's deal with it real quick, right? That word Neil, that word Neil, that name Neil comes from Niger. You see it right there, derived from Latin, and it's not pronounced Niger. It's pronounced, this way.
Strong's G 3526, Niger.
All right. So that it was later thought to be derived from the Latin, what I just pointed out. The Latin form also led to the variant form Nigel in the 19th century. Neil was predominantly a Scottish name used sporadically in the rest of Britain, but only became really popular in the 1950s, reached a peak in the 1970s, and still the British top 20 in the early 1980s. But let's fast forward, right? But look at what it says. You have variants of the name includes Niall, Neil, and then it goes on to say, but they are Danish and Swedish forms of what? Nicholas. All right, that's important. Let me break this down real quick. So Neil derives from the word Nicholas, and Nicholas derives from the word, let me play it again.
Strong's G 3526, Niger.
All right. You guys are catching on. So the short form Nig, right? Nig is the short form of the Niggers, right? Now, why is this important? Nig is also the short form of Nicholas. Let me prove it. Let me prove it. Hanks Patrick Hodges Flavia, A Dictionary of Surnames, 1988, page 387. Look at what it says. Nicholas. Come on, that should be a mic drop right there. Nicholas, Nicholas. Why is that important? This is where you get into the word picnic. I'm not going to go deep into that. Why? Because Nig is also synonymous to the word Nick or Nick, N-I-C-K, or Nicholas, right? But let's see another positive aspect of this word. Acts 13:1. I'm not going to go to the details of this because of the sake of time. I encourage you guys to watch the lesson that I did on the disciples. But look at what you see here. Acts 13:1. Simeon was called, guess what? Let me show you in the Greek what he was called.
Strong's G 3526, Niger.
All right. And they would teach that this was his surname. No, this is not his surname, right? They didn't have last names or surnames in the ancient times. So don't let them fool you with that, right? But we already know what this is. Proving that he is a what? He's a brother man. He's an Israelite. And I can prove that all these names here, Lucius, Manaen, all these guys are Israelites. So that means that all these guys, not just Simeon, because that's how they teach you, oh, Simeon was a Negro. No, it wasn't just Simeon. All of these guys are Negroes. All right. But it's also referring to him being what? A captain, being the leader, because they would tell you that he is the leader of what? The assembly at Antioch. So what's the proper pronunciation of Niger? You guys already know this. It's right on your screen. And I'll play it again.
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
So you see here, Neeger is similar to Neager as we discovered earlier. Come on, family. We cannot get away from this. No matter how we may not like how this word has been, like the term would say, bastardized, but it's the fact. It's a fact, family. This is a fact. Just with Simeon in the scriptures shows that this was a positive word. It's right in our face, but they tell you to pronounce it Niger. It's right in our face. It's a positive word, family. A positive word. All right. And look at this here. When we do the etymology, African nation, name for the river, right? Mentioned by the name, by that name, 1520s by Leo Africanus, probably an alteration by the influence of, look at this, it says an alteration by influence of Latin. There you have it right there. Let's play it so you could, I know I'm wearing it out tonight, but I want to make sure you guys understand. I know we in what? Black History Month. And I want to make sure you guys have the history on this. Let's play it again. This is the proper pronunciation.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
All right. And look at here. I mean, we could go further into this, right? To further prove this. But we done beat this in in the whole. You guys get the gist of this. You guys already know this, the Greek definition of it. Look at what it says, right? And this is where you have to just knock this stuff down, right? Latin origin, black, Niger, N-E-G, I said it, didn't I? Niger, a Christian, Niger, he wasn't a Christian. He was a follower of the way. The Romans called him a Christian, right? Transliterated. Look at here. Look at the pronunciation. Niger, right? It says black, but look at what they put here. Surname of the prophet Simeon. That they didn't have surnames. That's how you can knock this down. They didn't have surnames. They didn't have last names, right? When you say Yahweh Shah, which transliterates to Jesus the Christ, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, guess what? Mashiach is not a last name, right? John the Purifier, which many would call John the Baptist, Purifier or Baptist, that's not his surname. That's not his last name. Paul, he didn't have a last name. So when they say surname, that's deception to its fullest. It's right there in your face. Because none of them had last names. They were referred to as being out of the house of or out of the bloodline, because Bayath means house, right? But it also refers to bloodline, starting with who? The father, as we laid out earlier in this lesson. Come on, family. We're breaking this thing down. This is a Black history lesson that we all need to teach and share. So we are to believe that Niger, which means Black in Latin, is supposedly a surname for a so-called non-blood descendant of Israel who has an Israelite name. That's what they try to teach you in church, but that's wrong. Last or surnames did not exist in biblical times. All right. And when we go to the definition of the name Simeon, it makes it clear. It's an Israelite name. And look at this here. It says name of 5 Israelites. So they tried to, you see what I'm saying, family? You see how they just all over the place, but it says name of 5 Israelites. Now let's see the 5 Israelites that they name here. The second son of Jacob, 1. Abraham's descendant, 2. One who took the infant Jesus. 3, a teacher at Antioch. That's number 4. So it's telling you that Simeon is an Israelite and he is a Negro. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. Every text where you see the name Simeon is referring to an Israelite, not a Jew, an Israelite. All right? Was Simeon a proselyte? No, he wasn't. Here's a verse that proves that Barnabas was an Israelite. I ain't going to go to the details of it, but I'm just going to show you right here. Right? Now, when the congregation were broken up, many of the Judeans and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas. Right? All right. But anyway. So was Barnabas and Paul, both of them Hebrews, right? And they had the other nations coming to the temple asking to be taught. So family, I'm going to stop with that right there. I want to keep going with that because that's a whole nother lesson. But let me skip down to another key part that I want to really get into, because I could go into that, but I encourage you guys watch the lesson I did on the disciples I think it's called Mistaken Identity. And but I want to get to another key part here. All right. How important are names? How important are names? Isaiah 44:5. Let's go here. One shall say, I am Yahweh's, and another shall say, Yahweh, right? By himself, by the name of Jacob, Yahweh, right? So we say, I say Yahweh. Actually, this is Yahweh, right? Sometimes, if I glance at here, this Ra'ash could look similar to the Bayat. So this is Quara, Yahweh, right? Call, cry out, all right? So my apologies here. So going to here, Yahweh, right? Jacob, or Yahweh, right? That's Jacob, right? So it says, one shall say, I'm Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name Jacob, Yahweh, or Yahweh, and another shall subscribe, in other words, write, Kathab himself, with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself. Come on, family. See, we got to get that surname out of here. But anyway, Kana, by the name of Israel, Yashara'al. So what this is telling us right here, family, during this time, Israel remembered the Babylonian captivity. And during the Babylonian captivity, they changed the names of the Israelites, right? You can look at Daniel. He bear witness of this. And you can also look at the Egyptians, because the Egyptians, when you study Jehoiakim, his actual name was Eliakim, but the Pharaoh Necho, the Egyptian Pharaoh, changed his name to Jehoiakim versus Eliakim. Look it up. So what this is saying is our ancestors, and all the way to where we live in the time we live at now, that we would start embracing our ancient names, our Hebraic names, just like as Baruch, the book of Baruch prophesies about, saying that the Most High was going to use captivity for us to what? Now understand who we are, right? To be reminded of our identity, right? We're going to be awakened to our identity of who we are. And we are witnessing that right now. So by the usage of using these Hebrew names, like many of you guys have Hebrew names that you guys are using right now, whatever names you use. But it says the key is many are going to be calling themselves Jacob. Many are going to be calling themselves Israel, Yashara'al. Many are going to use the name Yahweh. It says that I am Yahweh. I am Ya'aquab, or Ya'aquabah. I am what? Yashara'al. Okay, so true Israelite followers of Yahweh will profess that they belong to him, and they will take hold of their Israelite names free from the Babylonian influence, right? Because same thing, when you start looking at the Babylonian tentacles everywhere we were scattered to, whether it was the United States, the 12 colonies, the Brits, all of them changed our names. They changed our names. They made sure we did not have any names that was even referring to Israelites. And who helped them? Who owned the slave ships? All right. Now, I want to use this map as an example, right? This is a great map here, right? And notice this territory in the center here. This is Sudan. Notice this whole region here. Notice this region here. I want you guys to understand. So this is Sudan, right? Again, this region right here, I just wanted to just cropped it, and so that way you could see the different names here. And family, I could go all through here and many of these names you see here, I could show you the Hebrew definitions and show that these are have Hebrew roots. Rabbah, right? Hebrew Strong's 7231, Rabbah, to cast together. An example, increase, especially in number, also to multiply by the myriad, increase. So we see this right here, Rabbah. Let me zoom in so you guys can see this. Y'all see it right here, Rabbah. All right. Let me show you another one. Sadah, all right? Sadah means to side off, a side, figuratively, an adversary, be side or side. But this is also a Hebrew letter, right? Sadah, that's the ancient pronunciation of it. I know many would say Tazah. I used to say Tazah, but doing my deep discoveries and all, and going through the languages, I just couldn't validate Tazah. I used it, but hey, I had to correct it. It's not Tazah, it's Sadah. It's the Hebrew letter, and the sound that it makes is Sa. All right, but look at here. We see that here as a territory here, right? And actually, this is a river. When we look at here, it's a river, right? And just so happens it means side up, side off. So guess what? You have a river. What side of the river? Right? Anyway. But then we see Adamawa. Right? Adamawa. Or Adamawa. However you want to pronounce it. But similar to what we went over earlier. Adamawa. Right? On the initial map. But look at what it says. The Hebrew Strong's 127. Adamah, soil, country, earth, ground, husband. We already explained that. Let's go to another one. What do you see in the center? Let me zoom that in so you guys could see it. There it is. Yakoba. And yes, meeting place. I have a Patreon account, and I'm working on. I should be posting in another 2 weeks. Three lessons. I'm doing it. I'm going over the lessons again, and I do have I think I have 8 lessons posted, but I'm going to really start putting some in-depth lessons on Hebrew over on that my Patreon channel. So I haven't really done much on it in a while because I've been focusing on my YouTube channel, but I will be building that up again, and I will be posting. There's some lessons there now. But I'm going to start having classes over there on that channel for you guys. All right. But guys, as you see here, Yakoba at the center here. Kashna, that's Hebrew, right? There's other names I could pull out of here. Masena, right? That ties into Manasseh, right? There's other names I could pull out of this. All right. Another name, Bambara, which comes from the Hebrew word Dabara, right? An African tribe, a Hebrew African tribe, and we could deal with the languages at another time. But I could I showed you multiple names here. And the point that I want to make here, family, Because I have maps that you'll see the name Israel, or not Israel, but Jerusalem in South Africa. You'll see Hebrew names all through the continent of Africa. Should we be surprised? No. Why? Because everywhere our ancestors traveled, they, as you saw here with Isaiah 44, I pointed out, they made sure they had names of Hebrew names no matter where they went to. Similar to every community that we have in this country, Negro community in this country, you'll see a Martin Luther King Boulevard. You'll see a Muhammad Ali Boulevard or some type of a Muhammad Ali Avenue. You'll see Malcolm X Boulevard. You'll see those three. You're guaranteed to see a Martin Luther King, a Malcolm X, and a Muhammad Ali, whether it's a boulevard, whether it's a street, whether it's an avenue. Doesn't mean that that's where they're from. And family, just because you see names in different parts of the map doesn't mean that that's where our ancestors are originally from. And that's the point that I want to make sure you guys really grab hold of. Don't be blown away by every wind of doctrine when you hear someone saying, look, let me show you the map. Jerusalem is here. Jerusalem. Do you know that there's more than one territory in Africa called Guinea? Because the Europeans conquered, right? You have Guinea, New Guinea in Australia. You have it in South America because they're bringing their names with them. See, this is where you start getting into understanding migration patterns, and you start understanding how DNA is being used, especially when you start dealing with the gender, right? When we start dealing with the Y chromosome, the mitochondria, the X, you start dealing with what? The migration patterns. That's what they use that for, to help identify the migration patterns, not just who's who, but also migration patterns. So how do you determine the migration patterns? You start looking at what? Names, and see how names developed in certain areas. So we can say even before any Europeans showed up on these territories, you had Israelites that was already going to these areas. They were already in these areas. No one had to bring a Bible there because Torah was already there. Now, many of our ancestors began to go the way of other nations even there and start practicing things that was contrary to Torah. But I want to show you here how names have meaning. Words have meaning. It is important. You can't just disregard. But just because, and matter of fact, on this in the slave coast, you'll see Judah. You'll see Judah, Ouida. Right here in the Gold Coast. I didn't have the map in here. I should have put it in here. But does that mean that that's the original territory of Judah? Anyway. So the slave database and other sources confirms Isaiah 44:5. Let's prove that real quick. Right? The voices of our ancestors in the slave database. Look at what you see here. And I have it in the background here. I wanted to update this slide and put some actual better images here, but I didn't get a chance to. But you see Barbanya. Guess what? You see this in the background. Let me zoom in so you can see it. You see it in the background in the screenshot here. Barbanya. 4 individuals, and this is a man's name. Men by the name of Barbanya. Barbanya. Well, what does this mean? These are Hebrew words. Bar. When we go to bar, look at what it says. The heir apparent to the throne. Son. Heir. Then when we look at bana, what does bana mean? We'll see it here. To build, obtain children, make, repair, set up, establish. So Barbanya means build, repair, make stable, your son, Yah. Come on, family. I'm breaking this down in ancient Hebrew. Barbanya means build, repair, stable, your son, Yah. Here's another word inside the slave database. Aman Yah. Family, I've been teaching this for years. And there's others that have, of course, they've taken my teachings and, you know how it goes. People don't give you the credit, that many have taken my teachings over the years and put their names on top of it without giving me any type of credit, but it's all good. But the bigger thing is, hey, getting this truth out, and that we just get away from the stuff that we've been had forced on us. So let's see here, Aman Yah. All right. So the Hebrew definition of Aman. Let's see what Aman means. You guys know what this means. I said it. I've been teaching this over and over again. Aman. Look at what it says. Primitive root word, not amen. It's Aman. That's the primitive root word. It means to build up, support, to render firm, or it says to render firm or be firm, or faithful, trust, believe, to be permanent. In other words, consistency, to be certain. To be true or certain. And look at right here. To go to the right hand. So when you say that every time you say Aman, you're confirming something to be true. You're also confirming what? That you're going to trust, you're going to believe, you're going to be permanent, you're going to be consistent, and you understand the importance of going to the right hand. And at the time before Hamashiach came, the high priest was in this position of being at the right hand. But guess what? They've been fired, right? Hamashiach is at the right hand and sits at the right hand of the Father. Anyway, so Aman, we see that inside the slave database. So Aman Yah means build up, believe, faithful, go to the right hand of Yah. That's what Aman Yah means. Go to the right hand, and we could take this even further. Yahweh means he exists. The right hand of he that exists. Bayah. Look at here. 20 entries here. Bayah is in different forms, right? But you see Bayah in different forms of the names here. Still within that slave database. Bayah, right? Bayah simply means in Yah, because you got the Ba, which is a prefix, which means in, and you see Yah, right? We see Allah Bayah. I know some of you guys want to say, wait a minute, Allah. No, this is not a Muslim name, right? I just proved to you what Bayah is. This is not a Muslim name. Let me zoom in so you can see this. This is not a Muslim name. Allah. That's not a Muslim name. And I'm going to prove it to you. The Hebrew definition of the word Allah in Hebrew. Look at here. Allah, right? Allah. We see it in scriptures. We see it right here. Allah, the primitive root word, Allah. And we see God, lowercase, God caps, heathen deity, God of Israel. Come on, family. Come on, family. Not Loa, not Elohim. We're dealing with ancient Hebrew. And they got it right before us. They got it inside the Strongs, the Hebrew Strongs. If you go to most of those primitive root words, especially the words that originated in ancient Hebrew, to the Hebrews, you will not see no O sounds. You will not see no U sounds. You will not see no E sounds. You will just see the Ah, as we see here, right? Allah, not Eli. How does this sound? Now, let me show you the deception here. This says Elah, Elah, No, this is a Kamet. This is Patak, and it makes an Ah sound. So it would be Allah, not Elah. Nah, see, family, this pronunciation is wrong. And I'm showing you that. Those that know Hebrew, you know that these both make an ah sound, not a sound. It's not a karet, or anyway, let me stop there. All right. And let's prove this. Exodus chapter 15, starting at verse 1. Look at this. Then sang Moses, Masha, the children of Israel, Yashara'al, this song unto Yahweh, and spake, saying, I will sing unto Yahweh, for he hath triumphed glorious, the horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. But let me show you here. Yah is my strength and my song. You see the short form here. And he is become my salvation. He is my Allah. Let me go back here. He is my Allah. You'll see this in the ancient Hebrew. This is exactly what you see in the ancient Hebrew. And I will prepare him an habitation, my father's Alahayah or Alahai, and I will exalt him. Come on, family. That's why you will see the transliterations of the ancient text. Let's just say in Arabic, you'll see Alaha, or if you see it in Syriac or some Arabic, you'll see Allah. It's not pointing to those deities, getting into Islam and all of that. All right. That's part of the brainwashing of Christianity. All right. And I could bring you up definitions here. Sources here. The Ernest Klein, right? Now, of course, this is making you pronounce this as Elohi, right? Elohi, right? Elohi. Nah, but we dealing with ancient Hebrew. Look at here. We see here the Syriac, it says Alahayah, right? Right? See what I'm saying, family? See, when you start understanding ancient Hebrew, as you know, you can pick this apart. This is not, there's no only way you can pronounce this you got to silence this ah. And you have to use the Y as a vowel letter to make this O. And then you have to add this dot, correct? So it'll be Elohi. Nah, family. We're not falling for this. But in a nutshell, we see the masculine plural, because you see the plural here. And this is in Israeli, Elohim. In ancient Hebrew, it'll be Allah Hayam, right? You would not see this Y there, all right? This is what you would normally see, Allah Hayam, right? But anyway, you see it says supernatural beings, judges, all right? But just giving you some sources here. We see Allah here, Allah, look at that, Allah. It says to worship as a deity, deify, and look at what we see here. It now gives us the Arab, right, which says Allah, which he defied, which is denomination of Allah, equal God, right? But again, when you start adding these dots there, because the ancient is Allah, but here it'll be Eloah, right? That is, again, that is getting into the Greek imprints on the language, as well as when we get to the Masoretes, this is them interpolating the actual words, the actual language. But Allah, as we see here. The Aramaic definition of Allah, look at what it says here. Allaha, right? So Allaha. We say Alahayam as the maximum, the maximum plural. I mean masculine plural. I'm saying masculine plural of Allah or Allaha. All right. We also see what many would say Yahweh. We see this inside the slave database. Instead of having the A sound, we see the Ah sound. Let me show you. All right. We see Yahweh right here. Ha, hu, Yahweh. We see, and of course, these names are in the way, but we see more entries that says Yahweh, Yahweh. We see Yahweh in the slave database. We see Adomi, right? That's actually a Hebrew word. Ancient Hebrew would be Adamaya or Adamai. But let me prove this. Adomi. Let's see what it says. It says an Edomite. Look at this. Adomi. Right? It says an Israelite. Not an Israelite, an Edomite. Now, on the surface, you'll say, wait a minute. There was Edomites on the slave ship? Was this slave a Hebrew Edomite? Because that's right, Edomites are Hebrews. But was this a Hebrew Edomite on the ship? Were they Edomites on the slave ship? Well, let's go to the Chaldee definition of Adomi. Let's break this down real quick. We're going to wrap it up with this. We see Adami, right? Notice how it pronounces here. Adami, right? Of course, when we get to the Israeli, let's go back, right? Ado. You have the colon here, and there was no O sounds in ancient Hebrew. I know I'm going a little geek mode here, but let me make sure I play this so that way some of you guys that are watching, I know many of our brothers and sisters want to hold on to whatever they want to hold on to, but let you hear a professor teaching the vowels and listen what he said about the O sound.
Here's a chart that summarizes vowel class and length. And you can see across the top the three classes, A, E, and U, and then down the side the four lengths, long, medium, short, and very short. So let's just go over this chart. We'll start with the A class vowels. The long vowel is cholam vav, and you'll recall that this says O as in snow. Now you might wonder why an O vowel is in the A class, and this is because of historical considerations. Originally there was no O sound in Hebrew.
I know that's hard for people to understand. There was no O sound in ancient Hebrew. It originally made an A sound, right? So when we get to the Chaldee definition of here you see Adomi, right? But let's go to the Chaldean dictionary and watch what it says. It says Adami, Adami, even though we know there was no E sound, so to be Adamai. But look at what it says here. It says a noun, right? And it goes on to say a pronoun, right? Of a town of the tribe of Naphtali. Then we see Joab tell us to go to Joshua 19:33. Well, that's important. That's important. Adami, right? Adomi is also the name of an Israelite descendant of Naphtali. Let me prove it here. Let's go to Joshua 19:32. The sixth lot came out of the children of Naphtali, even the children of Naphtali according to their families. Verse 33. And there came, and their coast was from Heleph, from Alan to Zaanim and Adami, right? Nekeb and Jabneel unto Lacum, and the outgoings thereof were at Jordan. All right. So we see that inside the database. We see a name of an Israelite in the database, right? Adomi. We also see Yaakov inside the database, right? We could go to the Hebrew definition of Yaakov. Y'all get it? Yaakov, Israelite, toward Jacob, was also the name, the grandson of Jacob as well. So Yaakov, right? This is what you see in the ancient Hebrew. Actually, Yaakov is the grandson of Jacob, but then you also see Yaakov, right? Yaakov. Let me say it again. Yaakov, right? Yaakov, and again also if you put an I at the end, it'll be Yaakov as well. And his name means toward Jacob. All right. So we see the name Jacob in the slave database. And you also understand when you study the Ebos, Jacob is very popular among the Ebos, right? So I'm just giving you some information here. Just going a little overload here. Yaakov, right? We see here heel catcher. You know, of course, it'll be Yaakov, right, in the Israeli. But nevertheless, this is Jacob's name, right? And we also see this again, another slave database confirming this. All right. I'm just showing this here because it's a duplicate here. And as you see here, and look at where it said that this person is from. The place is Ouida. All right. Ouida. Go figure. One last source here, a famous Israelite who went by the name of Jacob, Olaudah Equiana. right? And he makes it clear in page 64 of his biography. While I was on board the ship, my captain and my master named me Gustavus Vasa. I, at the time, began to understand him a little and refused to be called so, and told him as well as I could that I would be called Jacob. But he said I should not, and still called me Gustavus, excuse me. And when I refused to answer to my new name, which at first I did, it gained me many a cuff. So at length I submitted, and by which I have been known ever since. So this is just like what you see what's happening to Kuta, right? He's been beaten to say Toby. That's what he's saying right here. All right. And family, there you have it. There you have it. I didn't put my normal slide at the end, but there you have it, family. That is the full presentation of tonight. I know it went longer than what I anticipated on doing, but the key is, hey, we got all the way to the end, and I wanted to make sure that you have more than enough information to go off of, that when you go back and you replay this live stream, you can dissect it, and it's so much information you can continue to extract out of it. So I really appreciate you guys for taking the time out to support the channel. I thank you, all those that posted super chats. Really appreciate you guys. I know I didn't post the Cash App for those that would like to contribute to the platform. It's in the ticker at the bottom for us, the Cash App, $ Pastor PFR. So for those that want to sow a seed, by way of the Cash App, feel free to do so. Or if you want to be a supporter of the channel, regular supporter of the channel, we do have a Patreon account, and that can help contribute to the things that I'm doing here, like some of the videos, like the series that I'm working on right now that is titled Blotted Out. And family, I'm not even trying to make any money off of it. I'm making all this available for free, and I've been asked and been told for years that I should have put all of this in a book because people will buy it, but I just can't do it. I mean, for me, it's like we've been, that's how the educational systems have made so much money and just fleecing our people. I believe that, hey, you guys are, if you see that this information is valuable to you and that it's helped you out a lot, the people will give, the Most High has been blessing my household, and I just never been one, especially being in the church and growing up in the church and seeing how the people have been fleeced over the years. I just couldn't do it. So, but again, if you want to sow a seed, contribute to what we got going on, join the Patreon page, or Cash App is Pastor PFR with a hashtag, $ at the beginning, $ Pastor PFR, or whatever the Most High put in your heart to do. And like I said, just even sharing the video, hitting that like button to make sure that we have at least 100 likes every time we do this video, even in the comment section. Just go in the comment section. That'll help break us out of, get us out of this shadow ban, because YouTube is not sending out the notifications. So go into that comment section, even after we conclude this video, type some comments on just how, if you were blessed by the video, type in that comment section, because that helps as well. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video, hack it up if you want, splice it up and upload it, do so. All I ask, just give me some credit, because again, if you only knew how many platforms, how many people have used this information and they teach it as if they came up with it and don't even mention my name. I've even been tagged into some of my teachings that people are used verbatim, tagged in it. You know what I mean? But again, I digress, but I thank you guys for the love and support. I want to say thank you before I wrap up. I see a Cash App here. Maureen Linham Woodson, thank you for the super sticker. Really appreciate the love and support. And family, thank you again. had it not been for you guys, I would just be taking a walk by myself, my wife and I. Thank you for the love and support. And I will be posting more about the feast days coming up in April for those that want to come on in. And family, we're going to have a great time. Again, I'll post it so you could get the information to us and some other things that we're working on. But with that being said, family, really appreciate the love and support. And thank you guys for just being there, being a support system for what we do here. And we're going to keep teaching this truth, even if we have to just do it by ourselves, even if we have to, be one of that very few, we'll just continue to do what we're going to do. But in the words of the Most High that he gave to Moses to encourage Israel, in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14, he said, "Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today will never have power over us again." He said, "The Most High will fight for you." But here's the kicker, family. He said, "We must hold our peace." In that word, you will see charash, not shalom. Some will say shalom. You'll see charash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.